So I got a story for you. One of my students was telling his wife about the online gatherings that I do with Cannabis, and he's attended several. And she says to him, okay, let me get this right. She says with kind of a raised eyebrow. So you get on Zoom with a group of strangers, you smoke weed, and you do like ancient meditations. And he says, yeah, basically that's it. And she was like, okay, just make sure it's not a cult. And my student tells me this and we both laugh over it because I have an antenna for that culty kind of thing for several reasons. And the most prevalent being that I came from an upbringing that was fairly religious. And once I got into college, I turned and ran. I wanted none of it. So I have no adherence to any belief except in the individual, and that you have the ability to heal yourself from being stuck in your life and whatever, that may look like to you. And that's why I value cannabis so much, because this plant medicine used intentionally or spiritually, if you want to say that, can be hugely beneficial in getting you unstuck. That's what my work is all about. So I'm very excited to tell you about a new study that's come out regarding the spiritual use of cannabis. Of course, it's not in the United States. This study from a researcher in Norway at the University of Bergen. And this study aimed to explore the characteristics of spiritual cannabis use as compared to recreational use and compared to using psychedelics like LSD and psilocybin mushrooms. So let me tell you a little about it, and then I'll put a link in the comments section so that you can review the whole study if you'd like. So there were 319 participants, and they were recruited from a variety of online forums that discussed cannabis and psychedelics. I mean, where else would you get participants for a purpose like this? And the participants, over a period of 2 to 4 weeks, were interviewed about various aspects of their use of cannabis and psychedelics. And their identities were all kept anonymous to the researcher. The average age of participants was 33 years old, and the group was more than 80% male. The group included, people working in education, journalism, IT consulting, accounting, retail, and there were college students. So what happened? Well, first, only 25% of the participants said they had a spiritual motivation for using cannabis, 1/4 of the group. And intriguingly, that's compared to 69%, nearly 70%, who said they used other substances for spiritual motivation. 69%, that's nearly 3/4 of those using psychedelic substances, not cannabis, for higher consciousness pursuit. The 25% using cannabis for higher consciousness said that included stuff like having insights and connectedness and joy and love and unity with what was called transcendent forces. And there were some big takeaway messages from this study, I believe. And one is that the study reported that those who used cannabis as a spiritual guide approached the plant much differently than those using cannabis for recreation and relaxation. And very interesting, this group that used cannabis spiritually reported experiences with the plant that they said, get this, resembled spiritual experiences that they had had with psychedelics. Another notable observation was the frequency of participants using cannabis with spiritual intent. Now, they said that using cannabis less frequently enhanced their experiences, and that the experiences were more intense and more meaningful when they created space between the times that they used it. And finally, participants talked about their motivations for using cannabis in this study. And there were 3 distinct groups. And one group said that they used cannabis for socializing and partying and having fun, which certainly has its place. And another group, they were very clear that they were on a quest to obtain spiritual experiences. And the last group expressed a general curiosity about the psychological effects, not explicitly spiritual, but wanting to explore the realm of inner experience. And the conclusion of the research, which is pretty much standard operating procedure for published scientific studies, is that it deserves further study. Sure, bring it on, okay? And by the way, keep an eye out for details. We're going to be taking the deep dive with cannabis in some psychedelic cannabis events coming up. So if you're wanting to explore the realm of inner experience with cannabis in a very deliberate way, you should join us. So keep an eye out. Details are coming. Again, I'll put the link to the study down below in the comments section. And I invite you also, please, to share your thoughts about this. I'd love to hear where you stand with your use of cannabis. I'm Becca Williams, and I want you to lead your most magnificent life, and I want to help you do that.